Oh, all right, James. Welcome to the Rhetorical Sake podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Eric. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just got back from the gym about an hour and a half ago. I saw you on Facebook getting after it. So you got your own workout regimen or any goals you're trying to reach right now? I see. I don't know. Like, how do you map that out when you're the coach?
For sure. Well, usually the longer the short is, like lately, I've been actually hiring coaches myself,
Uh,
which I think is really indispensable for me, both as an athlete and as a coach. Just because like you get to a certain level and you become your own worst enemy, trying to make judgments for yourself.
mm,
There's a lot of complex reasons for that, but right now, yeah, I am programming for myself. I just got off a long training block with a coach of mine who I really enjoyed working with, and I'm just kind of taking some of the tools he gave me, trying to sort of reimagine them and do a routine up my way. And yeah, I got some goals. I want to lose some weight. I want to I'm getting back into running. I want to start running and lifting regularly, and perhaps like once the sort of lockdown thing dies down,
mhm.
get back into BJJ full swing, just because that's been a huge hassle trying to make that work with the COVID restrictions. So those are kind of my goals right now.
Now, for the audience and for me, BJJ, what does that stand for?
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Okay, okay. That's I assume that, but I don't want to assume. But
Yeah.
what you just said, it reminded me of this saying I've heard that every man or every master was once another man's fool. So in order to like learn and train, like for me, what I'm doing, like spiritually or whatever with sobriety, it's like I gotta, not overthink it and let myself, get trained by somebody else. So I respect that too, because it sounds like you're going through the gauntlet as well. And a lot of times what I see like on television and stuff with like people losing weight, they're getting coached by these people that are in pristine shape. Not you are, don't get me wrong, like clearly strong guy, but I'm like, you're coaching, you're yelling at this person to keep going, but do you feel it how they feel it? I mean, can you relate to that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Um, yeah. Like there's always some next level,
Mhm.
like, my goal with this last coach was to hit certain numbers on the power lifts, and also to like get back into running full swing, and to hit like certain times on my runs, because for the populations that I'm primarily coaching now, military, law enforcement, fire EMS, um, they have to have all these capacities. They're what we call in the industry obligate hybrid athletes, right? Which
Okay.
means that they have to have like a very high degree of cardiovascular fitness, as well as like a high degree of like explosive anaerobic limit strength, right? So
Gotcha.
you have to have both of those things. And the coach I was just with, he's a professional strongman. He has like 6'2", 220, as of last year, and he can like squat and deadlifts. I don't know, like 5, 6, 7, upwards of 800 pounds, and he can like press overhead like over 440 pounds, like
Well, all
insane.
right.
Yeah, but the thing is, he can also run like a sub 6 minute mile, and he'll like run ultra marathons and stuff.
Okay.
So like obviously for him being 28 years old to be able to like do all this stuff, or 29 now, like there's something going on there, like beyond just genetics. Like there's some serious technical knowledge
Hmm.
that he's had to implement to be able to get to that level. And so being able to coach under him, I thought I knew what I was doing. With my athletes, I get them great results at the level they're at, but it was a complete eye opener, in terms of the techniques and tactics, and the like lack of knowledge that I have, like the all the tools that I don't yet have, or didn't yet have in my toolbox. I didn't know how to implement at all. Um,
Okay.
so I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, have you had to use that in real life applications? Like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, really? Like, can you get
Well,
name
so
an example?
yeah, so remember, I first got involved with Pepperdine folks like yourself in about 2010, 2011.
Hmm.
That's when I started to teach jujitsu down there. I had a former mentor of mine sort of egg me onto that, I was working for him at his patent law firm in Malibu as a patent agent or like an admin assistant at the time. And
Okay.
he was like, yeah, like you could totally teach jiu-jitsu at Pepperdine. Here's how you do it. He'd attended Pepperdine Law. And so I got going there, teaching jiu-jitsu there, and I was training at the time. But at the time, the like one of the major sources of my income was like working as a bouncer at all these local nightclubs and bars and stuff, right?
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember Cisco's Westlake when it used to kind of go off
I
about that time.
ring some bells.
Okay, so right on the corner of Westlake Boulevard and Townsgate,
Okay.
there was this little cantina that for I don't know what it was, maybe 2 or 3 summers, it was like the place. Like people would drive up in droves from Los Angeles to the Canal Valley to go to this nightclub that happened on the weekends at Cisco's Westlake, right?
Okay.
And like we would have like 5, 6, 700 people in and out of this venue in a night. The fire department come and shut the place down. And I was part of like a 12-man crew of bouncers, right?
Okay.
And on the worst nights, we would have like 6, 7, 8 fights pop off, and we just all swarm. And granted, this was kind of like high romance for me. This was about as exciting as my my life got in my mid-20s, but like I had fun. Like it was really dangerous and stupid, but but like yes, a lot of
Okay.
people were put to sleep safely and came out of it. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's
No,
what is that? Obligatory for you to be in shape enough and knowledgeable enough and experienced to handle a job like that. So kudos to you. I
yeah,
think
it wasn't worth the $15 to $20 an hour I got paid, but
they weren't splitting tips at the end of the night.
no,
Oh man.
some bullshit. Yeah.
Now, is Cisco's the one that has like the open yard in the front? It's kind of like open air, fire pits outside, and like I think I've been there. I don't know.
Palapas. They have like palapas and like it's right next to the Carl's Jr.
I can't remember, dude. If I ever went out like past Pepperdine to go out, I was probably good and drunk, unfortunately. Like that's just a sad truth. But
Fair enough.
so fightfittraining.com, you're the entrepreneur, you're the CEO, the mogul, the founder of this online, is that right? Online and virtual coaching business.
Yeah.
Now, a little background because you're clearly well invested in like the Agora Hills, Calabasas, Thousand Oaks area. So where are you from? How'd you come of age?
Yeah. So I grew up out here in Caneo. My folks moved out here when I was probably about 6 or 7. Large family, 6 kids. Grew up in Westlake Village, and then we kind of bounced around. We moved to Agora. We moved to Three Springs and Westlake, and then I think about it was about I don't know, my 19th, 20th birthday. That's when I finished up at Moorpark College. I transferred to USC. I finished up with a bachelor's in philosophy there. Had wrestled in high school, but then like after that, when I sort of came back home to Caneo after college, I went overseas, got a master's degree in philosophy and psychoanalysis from the University of Essex. I came back home from all that, like I decided to get into training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and like stand-up fighting, like Muay Thai and stuff at Boss Rutan's Elite MMA, which is also in the Caneo Valley. And I was still working out at the time. I'd worked as a personal trainer and stuff. And but what I started to do is I started to sort of think about how to effectively, do strength conditioning like the way that I felt it should be done for like the combat and contact sports, really. Mostly combat sports, like what is the importance of strength versus aerobic endurance for a fighter? Like what is what sort of capacities do we need to focus more on, versus the others? Like, do we want to just do, these endless sort of cardio circuits and stuff like that? Is that adequate for someone who's training for the combat or contact sports, and
Right.
So that's when sort of the Fight Fit training concept was born, right?
Okay. Nice. And you were kind of ahead of this curve of virtual everything, digital everything before COVID. How has business changed since 2020, if at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah. So I was taking in-person clients in 2019. In 2020, I had already transitioned to exclusively online. But yeah, I mean, as of 2020, for me, it was just a big another reason to double down in the online direction and to really try to grow as much as I could possibly
Yeah.
in that arena.
Yeah, a lot of us, I think, we're kind of scrambling these last like 6 months when we realize, okay, like this really isn't going anywhere, and like I need to learn how to like make ends meet, um, and get used to this. So that's awesome, man. Now, when you work with servicemen from the military, from civilians, you have a little bit of background with being in the army, I believe. Do you want to talk about
Yeah,
that a bit? Just like what happened, or maybe like, where's that respect, that honor come from, where it's like, okay, I want to dedicate this passion of mine to these folks.
100%. Yeah, and so let's get into that story. So basically, it was in February of 2018 that I decided, after sort of hemming and hawing for a while, that I wanted to attempt an enlistment, in the army. And I got going, and I got to Fort Benning, and I was really excited because I was like eligible for all these high speed contracts and stuff, and training was going really well at first, but then about at week 9 in basic training out of 13, I ended up tearing my plantar fascia in my left foot, or just experiencing some really bad foot pain that was kind of undiagnosed. That was kind of the suspicion. But I went to physical therapy while I was there on Fort Benning for a couple weeks. And what I kept hearing from the medical professionals that I trusted was that, like, you need to give this injury time. Like, it's a tear to a ligament in your foot, and if you try and just get back up on it, like, the chances of it actually getting better are very slim. And so I wasn't sure what to think. I wanted to push through, but I was kind of counseled otherwise by the people I trusted. And so I came home, and I was actually really devastated by that. To be honest, like,
For
that
sure.
was really painful for me. That was like, this childhood dream just went poof, and from there I sort of just started to try and pick up the pieces and start with my online business again, which I had been running before leaving. But at that point, this sense of mission of, like, helping, younger service members especially, to get the care that they needed to really fulfill on the mission, without like questions, without doubts of whether or not it was going to be good for them in the long term, about whether or not it was going to be sustainable. That became the sort of driving force for me.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned Fort Benning on a side note, because I grew up military brat. A lot of my uncles I'm named after two. Like, my dad was an airman. My great grandfather I'm named after was one of the first Black Marines. So I grew up at Fort Benning, like many a days in my childhood. So I know that base very well. Not that I ever enlisted, because I'm my mom's only child, and she's like, "You're not going to the military." And I kind of regret that. I know at Pepperdine I did get invited for a summer program at Quantico. I lived down the street from Quantico, growing up, and I didn't go. And the thing is, I would have like went in as an officer had I gone in after I graduated and all this stuff. So I could definitely beat myself up over that, but I put the bat down, stopped beating myself up, and I get the dream deterred thing. I
Yeah.
totally get that. Just working in television, dealing with stuff on the job, standing up for myself to the point where it cost me my career. And it's like, okay, now what? So picking myself up after that, and dude, I have torn the muscle on the side of my Achilles, not my Achilles. I was living on a boat in Marina Del Rey and literally woke up one morning and couldn't walk. And like, these paramedics had to come get me off the boat. It was terrible. But falling down on crutches and stuff, and it's frustrating, and it takes endurance and stamina. So I respect the grind. I want to find out more, so because this PTSD is coming up a lot in pop culture when you talk about the military servicemen, people that have deployed and come back regardless, whatever. And even with police officers, firemen, things like that. And I've
Yeah.
been diagnosed with PTSD. I've never seen war. things like that, but it can take various forms. So have you encountered this with clients? I mean, is it something that you help them work through, or does it have anything really to do with the physical aspect? I don't know. Is there any relation?
Connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And so, um, it's funny because I talked to one of my soldiers that I was in training with last night, and I got to hear about his life story, and it was really intense, because I look back at my story and the things that I've been through, and I see that, like, in many ways, you know, my life and my the trajectory of my life has been kind of like a compensation for, or a reaction to certain traumas and pains I've endured. And I think everybody's life is, to some degree. It doesn't make me special that I endured these things, even if, like, a lot of my friends growing up in the same demographic neighborhood didn't.
Hmm.
It makes me perhaps a little different, but everybody's life is defined by some kind of, to some degree, by some kind of overarching trauma. And so the question is, like, how are you going to respond to it, right? We all endure painful and difficult events in life. We all endure failure and loss, and we have to expect to be able to fail and to lose things, and to endure hardships a lot in life.
Yeah.
Just as human beings, like, that's the name of the game. And so the question always is, how do you respond to it?
Mm.
Like, how are you, like, do you get back up on your feet? How quickly do you get back up on your feet? What do you do to compensate? What do you do to turn your failures and your losses and your hardships um lessons, or into wisdom that you can draw on, and that you can move forward with, stronger, right?
Right.
And so, with respect to, like, the physical connection with PTSD and stuff like that, right? What happens with a lot of people who endure, traumatic stress or complex trauma, or however you want to put it,
Hmm.
like, the tendency is for our sort of our executive function to, like, fall away. The tendency is for our ability to make good judgments for ourselves to sort of go down the tubes, or for our desire, our drive, or even our will to live to sort of diminish, right?
Okay.
And that's when, like, the knowledge of, like, the need to rebound from that needs to become sort of omnipresent in one's mind. Like, you need to be ready to take that next step, to move on, and to sort of double down. Like, when something bad happens, you need to be ready to double down on coping with it properly.
Hmm.
And I think for the populations I serve, there's almost nothing better than structured, goal oriented exercise. Something bad happens. Okay, like, you endure some kind of a hardship or a loss. Like, that's the most important thing for you to do, is to not fall off on your routine of self-care.
Mm.
The most important thing for you to do is to take on another mission, another purpose,
Mm.
another goal, to have something to strive for. And I think that's how I've been able to sort of help safeguard a lot of these folks from the tendency to just sort of lay down on the ground when something really challenging, and perhaps traumatic happens.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that. I mean, I think the older I've gotten, the less so, because I'm seeing, and I needed to hear that for sure. Because even today, this morning, I experienced a form of rejection on something that I was really looking forward to, something that would help me feel more secure and safe, especially going into now, this next year, 2021. And I still went to the gym. I didn't feel like it, but I hear my boys that I talk to, a lot of times it's on Instagram, DM, things like that, but some guys from Pepperdine, and they tell me, you go when you don't feel like it. And a lot of motivators I listen to on podcasts, I've been reminded more recently, and I think I needed it, all kind of lined up to where I needed that to be prepared for this. so that it's not really about what I feel. Keep giving myself these affirmations, keep pushing through. But I've been the guy in the gym that literally like will throw down, just start crying because I can't get through that fourth set. Like literally crying. Probably took too much test boosters. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so emotional. It's like, it's okay, man. It's those pills we took a couple of days ago.
Funny.
But so is there a man, and I was not expecting that, a philosophy degree, and you studied in England or the
Yeah.
UK? Essex. Hmm. Cheerio, my friend. Cheerio. So is it that your clients pick you, or is it more so you pick your clients? Are you available to people outside of the military and first responders or civilians, able to, take advantage?
Yeah. No, I have a number of civilian clients, and like it's interesting because I used to sort of prospect cold on the internet and just like start conversations and see where they went. And I'm getting more and more away from that just because number one, it's really burdensome. And number two, I'm learning through all the mentorship with my marketing and my messaging that I'm getting. So you don't have to do that. And that's actually better not to do that.
Okay.
That it's better to use attraction methods and techniques, right? It's better for you to put the message out there that you need to present in order for your ideal client to just gravitate towards you and say, yeah, like this guy's got what I need. And so that's kind of the big long game that I'm working on right now, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it reminds me of this saying, attraction rather than promotion. It's like I don't really have to force this on you. If it's something you want, you're gonna feel it, you're gonna see it, you're gonna see that glow. So I'm all about that, and it's definitely helped me with stop projecting my expectations on others, stop trying to form an opinion on how people should act or what they should do, when really I should just be concerned about myself. But what so there's not just one standard plan. There's not like a menu item that you're giving your clients. This is very personable, it's very specific. What can clients expect from you?
So when people onboard with me, the first thing I do is to assess their goals, right?
Okay.
Because everything is goal oriented. Everything is results driven with what I do, um, and that sounds more like kind of a marketing tagline these days than anything, but it's true, and that's kind of like the integrity to the process that I offer is there's a guaranteed result that's tangible, and sometimes that falls within a range, but still like, what we do is we take stock of certain data, certain analytics, right? I get them to assess on different dimensions of their fitness, usually like the big three lifts plus the overhead press and the and like maybe max pull-ups and some kind of a rowing movement. I take all that, I take the data from that, and I draw up a program by the numbers. I usually about 6 to 8 different like assistance movements a day, one core movement a day. I typically run either 3 or 4 days a week, training cycles, strength and resistance training wise. I add some calisthenics to those who want it, for those who want it and need it. And then I also offer like custom cardio programs that dovetail with that, to where it's like, okay, you want to drop 3 minutes off your 2-mile run. We can do that, in the course of 2 to 3 months and get you stronger at the same time. Right.
Sick.
So that's basically it. There's not much more to it than that. Even though obviously it can get complex, and there's, strength and conditioning is an art, and there's a wide variety of different techniques and tactics and methods that I will implement, ranging into the hundreds, from exercise selection to set and rep schemes to rest intervals to whatever it may be.
Okay, right on. Now, are you also diving into like diet and supplements, things like that for your
Yeah.
clients? How would you, any suggestions, or like not necessarily suggestions, but what's the game plan there? Obviously, each person's different, but
Yeah, 100%. So with diet, I have a method that works really well, and it basically plays off of one's natural eating habits and just closely monitoring energy consumption versus workload, right?
okay.
It's not like, I'm not going to say it's like proprietary. It's pretty standard, but I think what most people need is just something simple like that, and to be held accountable. For supplementation, there's stuff that I recommend, but all that stuff is mostly icing on top of the cake, you know?
Okay.
And so that sort of stuff is, it's almost like for client satisfaction, retention, you know, like some of the supplements I would say can be very instrumental. You know, a couple different things I recommend, like HumaPro, I think I mentioned. It's like a vegan sourced amino acid supplement that I prefer over whey protein personally. Or, you know, there's certain like pre-workout products that I'll recommend that are typically like a lot lower on stimulants, just
Okay.
because that's kind of like a harm reduction strategy that I use with my clients to also get them better results. Because if they're jacked up on caffeine all the time, they can't sleep, then they're not going to recover. So, you know, I can leverage that. Or like, what's a good pre-workout? I'm like, here's one with no caffeine in it. Watch how much better results you get just because we took the caffeine away. But, you know, you can think that it's the magic sauce, and that's fine, you know, like,
Yeah.
but it's good stuff. You know, it has a lot of good stuff in it too. It's a transparent lab stim free. It's the only pre-workout I would recommend, clinically dosed, caffeine free. But again, all that stuff is kind of icing on top of the cake, you know?
Gotcha. I mean, there's just no way there's the meat of it, the standard, like, you got to do the work. This stuff is not just going to hand it to you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And the truth is, Eric, 90% of people are focused on that 10% of stuff that doesn't matter, like supplements. And some of my most effective memes in getting engagement online have been just to be like, you know, hey, you know, you're changing your pre-workout isn't going to be transformative for your fitness. I hate to break it to you, you know. And the kinds of reactions I get where people are like, I resent this because it describes me, you know.
It's like, are they saying it like that, or are they being a little bit more nasty?
Yeah, no, they realize that everyone's just chasing after that magic pill in a bottle, you know, that isn't, it's not real, you know, there's nothing out there.
And I mean, I'm guilty of it, but at the same time, I think in 2016 was the most transformative 4 months I experienced. I was in a relationship with my trainer, which was not healthy, but I would, you know, we'd take a bong rip and then like chug pre-workout on the way to the gym. And then all of a sudden, like my skin's itching and I just go in the gym like crazy lit up. Like it was not good. Like I don't ever want to be at that point again. I remember doing some pull-ups or something and I'd never done that many pull-ups. And I thought I was having a heart attack, and I've had a heart attack, you know, last year, but I was 26 at the time and my chest had never got those muscles had never been torn before, and I was like, oh my god, I think something's wrong, you know. So I kind of learned my lesson with all that. I'm more of a coffee and maca powder. It's like a Peruvian superfood. I love that stuff, man. And I ran about 8 miles on Sunday or Saturday a couple of days ago, but today I went for a run and I don't know, I was icing my leg last night and I found it doesn't hurt too bad. It's kind of achy, but I'm limping when I run. So I just called it off. I'm like, dude, listen to your body. You know, don't try to fight through it. Just go home and like let it rest. I guess I don't know what else to do. As frustrating as it was, because I could really use a run today mentally, but it is what it is. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, rest it up, and you know, you gotta make sure that soft tissue isn't all compromised before you hit another one.
Gotcha. Yeah, just got to be patient with it. Now, you do you have a are you, what is your make and model, like what's the ethnicity? Is it because I know your last name, I've never seen it before, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah. So my father is Armenian, and my mom is like mixed white American, like German, Welsh, Hungarian.
Okay. So a lot of, see, because I know you said he was selling Persian rugs, the family business. Yeah. Okay. So I just had to ask. Now, is there a spiritual, do you find yourself like meditating or anything like that, or doing some type of like holistic mental or spiritual therapy, or is it more so like kind of go? Is that something you even want? I mean, I do it just because I don't know. It's all I know at this point.
You know, so for me, I mean, granted, my background is in academically in philosophy and psychoanalysis. So like these are all questions and phenomenon that are of keen interest to me, right?
Mhm.
um I don't know if you want to call it spirituality or just psychology, philosophy, self-help, that kind of stuff, um but as far as like what I believe in or ascribe to, um I don't know if there's like some kind of like firm set of beliefs, or if there's like a framework that makes more sense to me than other ones.
Mhm.
But I love to learn and to explore those kinds of notions. I love philosophy and psychoanalysis. I read routinely on it, or I have in past years, and I feel like my life is really enriched by it. But also, I get a lot of coaching, in terms of business for my mindset and stuff like that, and that sort of keeps me on my toes in that arena as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I've noticed a lot of my friends that were philosophy majors or, have that degree, that pedigree, are some of the most rational and reasonable people and a little less reliant on religion, like the rituals of religion. And I just find that so interesting because you're talking about all this metaphysical, transcendental stuff, but you're also like grounded. So I respect that because it's not all caught up in the hoopla or the woo woo of
I
some incense burning.
I try, I think one of the most important things to realize for people who take on the pursuits that I have intellectually, is like we don't ever escape our own little like neurotic rituals and propensities.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some kind of like proneness to irrational fears and insecurities and things of that nature that like do play a driving force in our
Mm-hmm.
lives. There's always like nothing's ever really certain. There's always some cause for anxiety or fear that's just kind of lurking in the background. And so I think that me sort of taking the intellectual pursuits that I have is for certain been a way of me trying to shore myself up against all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like obviously I can't claim immunity to it, I think is what I'm trying to say. And so
Gotcha.
it's really important for me to be honest with myself and others about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna be honest with yourself, how are we gonna be honest with anybody else? And I got to work on that. I'm grateful. I feel like I've come a long way over the past few years, but I know there's a lot of work to be had. But in any case, so fightfittraining.com. I signed up. I gave my email, and then this 20-minute arm workout popped up. I tried to do something like it. Um, what's the
Yeah.
motivation? What's the inspiration? Have you gotten some good feedback with that?
Yeah, I've had some people use that and tell me that they enjoyed it. But that, I mean, that's kind of just like a lead magnet. It's to give people a little taste
Yeah.
and for them to be like, oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not working quite as I'd hoped, but hopefully you got a something of a good experience out of it.
Yeah, no, it's given me definitely some objectives to reach. I mean, I always had my little cable routine, but that was definitely more disciplined, more structured. And I also learned some new moves like the straight arm pull down, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm all about that life. Um, well, yeah, if there's, before we end this thing, I'm not going to hold you up for too long today, but, is there any parting words for just anyone looking to get active, to get fit, or, that may have served and just to reach some goals? Like I see these great before and after pictures that you post of your clients. Like, what would you say to somebody that wants that?
Stop waiting,
Mm-hmm.
stop sitting around and thinking to yourself, boy, it would be nice. The sooner you get in motion, like the sooner you're underway to really achieve what it is that you say you want to.
Right on, right on. Hey, nice and easy. Just got to do the work. I love it. I love it. Well, James, I really appreciate it. Can you pronounce your last name for the audience and for me one more time?
Of course, Deirmendijian.
Deirmendijian. Deirmendijian. All right. Fightfittraining.com. You're on Facebook. They can reach you there. But You know, it's pretty straightforward. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I think that's very poignant, great interview, straightforward. You know, we got you. So,
I appreciate it as well, Eric. Thanks for the opportunity.
hey, no problem at all.